Hello, everybody. Welcome to the United Front. This match reaction for Manchester United against Burnley 3-2. We finally won our first game of the season. It came late. We won it late. But, mixed emotions. Obviously, there's positives and negativities from this game we can take. But before I start, obviously, throughout the game, I just want to talk to, obviously, people who are amoring out. Not the ones that, have common sense, or the people that are recently hammering out. Those people have been the people that have been wanted hammering out for a while. This game just shows that it can come from amorim, and it can also come from the players. Because let me tell you something. That first half alone should have been. We should have just killed the game off. That in the first half we should have scored three. And how many chances did we have? I mean, I'm just looking at it, and 26 shots and 6 on target. And it just shows that we're not clinical. These types of stats, it should be more than 3, to be honest. But then again, look, we scored 3 goals in this game. They should have been 3 in the first half, because obviously the Casemiro goal. But then you could probably say Mason Mount penalty or free kick. Ahmad's chance. And Burma had 2 chances himself. So, you can't tell me that we haven't had chances. We dominated the game. Just take it that way. The fact that the problem was we weren't clinical. And this is the problem, because people can say, oh, it's amorim, his tactics don't work, this and that, the formation 3-4-3 doesn't work. You can't say it has to do with tactics, it has to do with the formation. No. When it comes to finishing ability, it does nothing to do with tactics. It has nothing to do with formation. Because you can play 5 at the back and still can't score. You can play 4 forwards up front and you still can't score. You can play 4-4-2 and you still can't score. You can play 4-2-3-1, as most people do, and still can't score. It has nothing to do with obviously finishing ability. So like I said, I'm not saying Amrin can't be in the wrong. Of course he can be on the wrong. I'm just saying there's gonna be certain games where Amrin will be in the wrong. And then there's some games that, you know what, the United players should have won it for us, but they didn't. So look, it was a close call. We should have won initially. We should have wrote the game off, killed it off, but of course Man United love making things hard. But these people saying Amra out, you know what, just to say to these people, they're not real fans. You might as well call them paid actors, because when you say something that you genuinely believe, you don't start having a fit or overreact for no reason or start saying absolute shit. These people that say, oh, Amrin out, oh, this and that, and people that don't watch the game with their eyes and lack common sense, it's just stupid. That's why I say they're paid actors, because they talk shit out of their ass. They don't really believe it. And all you're saying you want him out is because of, what, formation, tactics, or whatever. Look, the only negative I can give Amrin in this game is the team that he picked. That's it. That's it. Otherwise, there was nothing wrong with Amorim. It just relies upon... Look, obviously, I could say another one. Dallo played for 90 minutes. I mean, I don't know how. Look, Portuguese bias, whatever you want to call it, is crazy. But like I said, every manager have their flaws. They have their favourite players. So, but no one can't tell me that these people saying Amrin out. Yeah. And look, people were celebrating. And why not? Because it was a last minute winner. It was our first game. And people are going to say, oh, we're celebrating. I'm not saying don't celebrate. I did celebrate, I just want this to keep going on. I'm not going to say, oh, we won and we're back. No, that's just delusion in its own place. But we've got the win. It's obviously international break, which is obviously it's annoying. But it is what it is. But look, I mean, to be honest, with international break, I feel like it makes... Look, this international break this season, this year makes sense, because obviously World Cup's next year, so fair enough. But we've got the win. Obviously, in 2 weeks' time, we'll face against City, we'll face against Chelsea, Brentford, and obviously in Sunderland. And look, we have to take that Burnley game. The only difference is we have to take our chances because the first 30 minutes or 45, first half, we absolutely, dominated. We should have killed the game. Like I said, we should have scored at least 3 goals in the first half, but we didn't. Um, but we didn't. So, but look, we got the game. And this is why I say, I was even saying it during the game, we should take our chances before the opposition bites us back. Even if we don't score first, we have to take out those chances. Otherwise, the opposition will show us how it's done. And when we scored and we had chances afterwards, we never took them. Burnley scored and then Burma scored quickly. We had chances then and then. They scored again and then obviously we had luck on our side with a penalty. So, But apart from that, I mean, look, first half was impressive. Second half, you could probably say, you know, we allowed Burnley into the game. You could probably say it was like the Fulham game, allowing Fulham into the game. We just did that with Burnley. We never killed those chances. And like I said, if in the first half it was 3-0, I don't think they would have scored two. I think Burnley would be demoralised or their heads will be down. They're losing 3-0 at halftime if it happened. And obviously Man United will be comfortable with a win like that, in the second half if it did go as to plan, but it never. So look, we got City next, and obviously Chelsea. Now, obviously, the negative is Cunha's injured, and apparently, it's an ACL, hamstring, whatever. But I'm just seeing it. Cunha is without any crutches or leg brace after the Burnley win. So yeah, but that doesn't mean anything because, like, I don't know what it was. I've seen it with I don't know which player it was, but I saw it and it apparently went out for long. So, you know. But apart from that, so I'm just seeing Garnacho sign for Chelsea. Um, oh my God, here we go. I'm just seeing this. What? So I'm not gonna say his name because you know he should be sponsored by Talk Shit. Apparently, Man United celebrating following their 3-2 win. It was embarrassing. How was that embarrassing? So what? You know what? You know what? I don't understand this. If we win a game and we celebrate, it's embarrassing. But if we lose a game, it's embarrassing. It's like, for fuck's sake. It's like even if we win, it's like, oh my God. It's like we can't. Like, honestly, we can't. Like, people still smoke us in different ways. Whether we win, whether we lose, we still catch strays. It's unreal and it's embarrassing. This is what I mean. Talk shit, and all these people absolutely talking out of their ass. It's unreal. But yeah, as I was saying, look, Cunha apparently was an ACL injury. Hopefully, he'll be back. But look, would he be back for City? I don't know because apparently it was a hamstring, so that takes up to a couple of weeks anyway. But apart from that, I think, look, I'll go into player ratings, but look, we played well in the first half. Second half, it was decent as well, but at the same time, we never took those chances, and then a mistake coming from Burnley towards a Burnley goal. Second goal, I mean, look, I'm not saying Binder's on the same level as Onana, but come on. I mean, he makes once again a mistake. Um, and look, I don't understand, right? So the ball's straight at him. He just saves it, pushes it, and it hits his knee. And then somehow it goes to Mainu, and then Mainu tries to clear it off, but then it hits Binder, and then obviously goes in. So it's one of those where it's like 50-50. So he's at fault, but at the same time, it's just unfortunate. He can't do really anything about that to keep it in. So, but still, I think, look, we need a goalkeeper, and apparently, look, it's obviously tomorrow's last day. So if we do get Lamens in that time, it'll be great. It'll be great. I don't know if he will start against City, but nothing has been talked about. But look, obviously, it relies on the last day, so you know. Um, but yeah, apart from that, look, 3-2 win. I forgot who scored. Yeah, Josh Cullen. Look, it was an own goal once again. But look, we deserved it anyway because we were making chances before we even scored the first goal. So yeah, and Buemo, good to get his first Premier League goal. Um, Obviously scored against Grimsby, but he played so well. You know what? He could be my man of the match. And obviously Bruno scored from the penalty. So, I'm glad he scored. And obviously it's a bit frustrating because it's almost like, well, why didn't he do it against Fulham? Only if he could do it against Fulham. So, but look, we won. It's great. We can go into the international break without negativity. Well, a little bit negativity because there's still people out there that will say it's embarrassing to celebrate that, according to toxic fans. But yeah, my predictions, to be honest, I mean, look, it's crazy because I didn't do a watch along, and we won. Look, I don't need to do a watch along as long as Man United win. I don't really care, but I'm glad they won. It'll probably be more special if we won the game while I was doing a watch along. But look, we won it. So yeah, and you know what? To be honest with my predictions, I did say 2-0. Because we don't score or we don't be clinical enough. And look, it could have been 2-0, but it's 3-2 because of how we had to scrape from the floor and get a result. I know I did say Sesko would score, but he didn't even start the game. And then Bremo did score, so yeah. And obviously, and Bremo man of the match, and surely, for me, man of the match. Talking about man of the match, we'll get into ratings. Buying there, I'm gonna say a 6. I know he made a mistake, but it was one of those where it's like it's his fault, but at the same time he can't do anything about it. But look, I think apart from that, I think he couldn't do anything about the first goal because first goal, Lau Foster was unmarked. Second goal, he should have just absolutely pushed it. But apart from that, I don't think he had many chances at him. So, 6 for me. Yoro, I'm gonna say a 6, I'm gonna say a 7 because once again look, Lenny Yoro, as we said, we're so lucky to have him because of what a talent he is. But yeah, 7 for me. I mean, honestly, and look, he could potentially be. Look, he's one of the best youngsters in Europe, without shadow of a doubt. But probably in a few years' time, he could be one of the best players, one of the best defenders in all of Europe. But yeah, there's still more. There's obviously still more to come. There was another one. Oh yeah, Delict for me, I'm gonna say 6.5. I feel like he did well. Obviously, you know, obviously being our main centre half, and did well. Sure, I'm gonna say 6.5 again. I think he did well. I think to be honest, against like I don't know Bruno Larson, I think he had better times. And look, I saw him going forward a lot of times. Even at times he was wing back as well. But obviously he can't play wing back because he doesn't have the legs and the energy to go up and down. So yeah. But obviously, our back three. Obviously Martinez is still yet to come, but this back three is definitely our best back three we have. So it's great to see them do once again the defense. Probably the criticism I can give is probably the first goal. No, Lau Foster was left unmarked, so but yeah. Dalla, I'm gonna say. Do you know what? It was a nightmare seeing him play at win back, but I'm gonna give him a 6.5. Obviously for the assist, but I just think, look, Dallo is good. On his day, Dallo is good. My problem is there's been times where he's sloppy. There's been times where he doesn't know whether to attack or whether to defend. He's deep at times when he's not supposed to. Like, it was frustrating seeing him start. Because it's like, if you want to play him at the right side. There's no point playing him. And there's so many times where he had to come across his body to cross it in. on his right foot. And that's the thing as well. Look, obviously he did get assists with his left, but there have been times when, he had to swing it with his right foot, and then obviously it just doesn't seem uh, to connect it properly. But he did put some decent deliveries in, um, and obviously he got the assist for the Mbama goal. But apart from that, 6.5. Obviously his best game yet. But yeah, look, I like Dallo. I don't know what's happened to the player 2 years ago where he was a consistent player. Improved massively defensively because he was an attacking fullback. Two wingers that used to shit himself against were Wilfred Zaha and Alan Saint Maximin. Those were his nightmares. So in that season, improved defensively and he was consistent. So Ahmed, I'm gonna say 6.5. He had a good game, but I mean, there've been times when, look, I think his defending was better than his attacking, to be honest. Even though he did create chances, but I mean, he had to score that. I know people can say, oh, he was bouncing, but still, even if it's bouncing, you should know you shouldn't side foot it. If it's bouncing, put it through your laces. That's all you have to do. So, but yeah, 6.5 for me. Very obviously improved. Obviously compared to Grimsby and Fulham. And Bromo, I'm gonna say an 8. My man of the match, as I called it. Yeah, he was absolutely amazing. I mean, look, when Cunha was on the pitch, you could say a lot of things were happening, but obviously he was injured, but he stepped up, and thank God we had a player apart from Bruno to step up, because it's always been Bruno, and if Bruno doesn't step up, it's almost like who's gonna step up, and then you almost feel like, well, if Maguire comes on and scores a header, you can probably put him in that bracket, but Bruno played well, but Mboma for me mad in the match because he stepped up and got his goal, which I'm glad for. Talking about Bruno, I just missed it. Bruno, I'm gonna say a 7.5. Look, he played well. I feel like when as soon as second half kicked off and he was in the 10, he was supposed to be where he was in the 10. Now the question is, when we come back against City, will he play as a 10? With obviously Cunha injured. I don't know. I feel like he should, but then you got mounted. Obviously, he had a great game. So for me, 7.5. I feel like he played well. He was better in the 10, but obviously he had to drop deep because Amorim was bringing on Sesko. So yeah, Casemiro, I'm gonna say 6.5 for Casemiro. Now I know it wasn't his goal, but look, I'm not gonna say that midfield works. Of course it doesn't work because it was against a certain opposition like Burnley. We were still getting run through, but again, like, he played decent, but that doesn't mean this is our midfield and it means it works. It was against Burnley. Do that against City. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 6-0 or 5-0. Because it was against Burnley, we didn't get punished. So, but I know people can say we played that same midfield against Arsenal, but Arsenal won themselves, or we made Arsenal shit. So, take your pick. I'm gonna say 7. I think he played well. I mean, he only played for the first half, and I'm giving him a 7. So I feel like he should have won a foul. I mean, that ref was a prat anyway, saying that, oh, Kyle Walker didn't commit a foul. I mean, he should have just been honest and say Kyle Walker did commit a foul, but at the same time, Mason Mount did, so it's not a foul. So, but I don't understand. But Mount played well. Look, him being fit is a positive, but him playing well is giving Amrin a tough choice in who should be 10, because I like Mount, and I said it again, him and Shaw, when they fit, they're good players and valuable they're valuable to us. The problem is his fitness, but it seems that, obviously he came off at half time, probably a knock or something, but apart from that, I feel like whenever he's fit, he's absolutely brilliant. So, and look, he does obviously have the courage to say, you know what, I should start for Man United. I'm thinking, why not? But the problem is that if he wants to play, then you can't really play Cunha and Burma together as two number 10s. That is the problem. And then if you still want to play Mount, then that means Sesko has to drop, and which is obviously doesn't make sense. So, you know, Cunha, I'm gonna say I'll probably say six, because he came off 10 minutes, but there was obviously nice movement from him. You know, I feel like when he came off, you're thinking we've lost that spark of Cunha, but obviously we scored the first goal, and obviously we know the rest. Xerxes, I'm gonna say 6.5. I think he played well. I was a bit surprised him coming on ahead of Sesko, but I think obviously he's a different type of player to Sesko. Obviously he's one that loves to drop deep and obviously hold up the ball when link up play is brilliant. So for me, 6.5. Mainly I'm gonna say I'm gonna say a 6.5. I think what made me happy about Manu today was his defensive capability, because I've seen him times when we were overloading and going forward, he was the last man, and his recovery pace at times when he had to stop Burnley going on the counter was brilliant. So it just shows that not Manu can only attack, he can also defend. And obviously he's still young, so he can still develop to be a good defensive capabilities in him. So yeah. Sesko, I'm gonna say 6. Look, he had chances. But look, this is what happens when you bring someone on and not giving him a full 90 who doesn't start. I know he started a full 90 against Grimsby, but he was hardly having service. We did see some service, which I was glad, but obviously, unfortunately, that first header, I mean, it was too high. And the second one, I feel like he should have put that on target. So, but look, Sesko's still young. We know what Amrin's trying to do, ease him through the team. And yeah. Mazra, I'm going to say a 6, but look, it's great to see him. You know, great to see him back. And could he play against City? That is the question. So yeah. My man of the match is Embuemo. I'm just trying to see if I'm missing someone. No, I'm not. So yeah. As you can see, Man United finished in 9th. Obviously depending on how we play. How the tables go, obviously after Sunday. So, you know, but apart from that, I mean, look, we got the win. That's what matters. And we just needed that. That's it. So, you know, but look, all I'm saying is this game just shows that it can be Amrin's fault, but also it can be the players, because we should have won that game easily. We should have killed it off. And I've said this so many times. Man United are not the team that punishes teams. They're the team that get punished. So it just shows in that first half, we should have scored at least 3 goals. And that game, I'll tell you something, because it was 2-2, and we're like, you know what? I know we lost the game I was going to talk about, but if we drop points once again, it's going to be absolutely pelters. And look, if we drew that game, people still blame Amorim, you know, but that game would show, obviously, we didn't take our chances. So, you know, but yeah, look, obviously, first half, it should have been 3-0. The game I was actually referring to was Ten Hag's last game against West Ham. And it was almost like, could that be a deja vu? I was praying it wasn't, but we just couldn't finish our chances, you know. And then obviously we lost on that day, and obviously Ten Hag got sacked. So it was almost like, could it be a repeat? Hopefully it wasn't, because look, I want Amorim to stay. You know, I'm sick and tired of sacking managers. I've said it again. I want Amorim to stay. I want him to be a Manchester United player. And look, the way Arsenal fans have waited patiently, let's just say, with Arteta, I want it to be the same, because, you know, I want it to be a United, develop, get the players he wants, and obviously we grow as a team, and obviously one day we can compete for trophies, but it's still a long way. So yeah, but anyway, thank you guys for watching. That's the match reaction against Burnley. Glad we won. Obviously, 48 hours left. Actually, 7 o'clock. 48 hours left till this summer transfer window ends. Do we get the men's? We obviously check that if there's a heavy go on that. But apart from that, glad we got the win. I'm also gonna do Liverpool against Arsenal watch along. So there will be a watch along this weekend. Big game. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Take care. See you in the next one.